the big, huge impact that AI has on the world of work. AI will not make jobs obsolete. Absolutely not. AI will, however, speed up and probably make obsolete quite a few tasks that exist. And if you honestly look at your probably last 2 or 3 work days, you probably did 72 different tasks. Whatever it is, it's some sort of number. You do heaps of tasks. And you wouldn't be all that depressed, sad if a friendly robot or an AI took over 12, 13, 20 of those tasks. The bad news is, however, that, and this is the case for knowledge workers in particular, if AI sped up 20% of your tasks, you wouldn't leave the office at 3 p.m. Because to misquote Jurassic Park, work finds a way to fill your day.
Yeah,
And
nature
and
abhors a vacuum.
exactly, it eats. That's absolutely right. It eats that up. But what your day will look like is vastly different in the AI future because the tasks that are being gobbled up, they are technical, repetitive. This is when you move boxes in a PowerPoint, when you program, when you do something in Excel, when replying to emails might be faster. All of those things that get sped up. What AI will not touch at scale, anytime soon at least, is interpersonal work, is interpersonal interpretation of data, conversations with other humans. That will be very much, that'll take up a bigger share of your day, those interpersonal tasks. That means AI, in a very, very counterintuitive notion, will make the world of work more human, more interpersonal. That's quite nice. And it also is an answer to all those people that have billions of dollars invested into the big fat office towers in the CVDs that are wondering whether they should just board them up and let nature take over. No, the CVDs will be just fine, but not right now and not in the immediate future. In the long term, the CVDs will be fine because ideally we'd split our work weeks in terms of going to the office and working from home into two. We do the interpersonal tasks in the office. We do the quiet thinking, repetitive tasks that are still with us, and we do those at home. And again, it needs a bit of alignment. Middle management plays a role here to make sure that we align all those people that benefit from working together, that they come to the office at the same time. And and it will not be that extreme, but if you imagined a CBD where every organization acts this way, it would make sure that all the offices would look differently. We would completely let go of hot desks, of cubicles. Hopefully, we let go a decade ago, anyways. And it is a much more communal, even rowdy, raucous CBD where people go to meet with other people. Lots more whiteboards, interactive screens. People would hang out much more in cafes because they meet other potential clients, old colleagues, and so forth. It'd be a wonderful CBD, a CBD that is actually more attractive than the 2019 pre-pandemic CBD. The extreme narrative that I'm describing here is, of course, a bit of a pipe dream, but we are moving into that direction. That's the direction it's working, and that's a better future. And it's up for organizations to decide, hey, how much can we steer our direction towards that? That would be better. And that's when we side with the nature of work, what work wants, rather than what workers want, what bosses want. That is best for work, and we always talk about earning the commute now. That would earn the commute, because you actually do something in the office that is best done in person. And that would be a cool, wonderful world of work, I would argue.
Yeah, and what you're saying there around like how a city then, a city center, CBD, which stands for Central Business District for those Americans in the audience, downtown, what you guys might call downtown, or for Londoners, the square mile, plus usually also Canary Wharf falls into that category. So cities, CBDs, they can get a bad rap, especially from the urban designers and lots of other people on this vacuous, empty, massive blocks of steel and concrete and glass, right? But then there's the argument around the city being a space of culture, right? Of you say going to London's West End, of going, to I'm not sure what the equivalent is in New York. Sorry, New York friends. But going to those cultural hubs like in these major cities, Melbourne's famous for this. I believe you're based out of Melbourne, right?
Yeah, I'm in Melbourne.
Yeah. So, Melbourne, one of the world's most livable cities. Culture site is a big part of that. You've got the MCG just outside of the city. You have just to the east of the city as well, you have like Fitzroy and these sorts of places, Collingwood, these trendy hipster sorts of places. How then, like, that seems quite well aligned what you're saying with cities being reimagined back to perhaps their more adaptive state as, say, a center of culture, a meeting place of people to exchange ideas and entertain one another and do that magic that makes us human, say.
Yeah. Also, yeah. So when we think about the changing nature of cities, and this is when we move into big picture demographic data as well. The city is, of course, the centralized. Lots of functions in a city need to be centralized. This is you throw all your arts, all your sporting structures, your big, basketball stadiums, whatever it is, in the center of town. That makes perfect sense. And so people from all over town, they go into the CBD to do those very special events. And of course, lots of people live in near the CBD. They're usually people before the family formation stage of the life cycle. So people under the age of 40 almost exclusively dominate the inner suburbs. And once they have families, they move to suburbia, they move to the urban fringes of the cities. That is the case in most Western cities, more or less. To speak. And at the moment, over the last decade, when all of the millennials were before the family formation stage, that was another heyday for the city center, because the biggest generation that ever lived, the millennials, in at least in the US and in because it's a migrant nation in Canada, the US, New Zealand, Australia, there was very much the largest generation that ever lived, the millennials. They all were in the renting stage of the life cycle, in the pre-family stage. They wanted to live in the inner city. So that meant the city was super vibrant, lots of activities. And now, even without the pandemic, with all these things from working from home that we discussed, we would have seen a bit of a lull in the inner city, because millennials become suburbanites. They move away. And the next cohort that moves into the CBD for now is smaller. So there was always going to be a bit of a lag of activity there. Migration nations and cities that grow, they fill this up because they get population growth from the rest of the country. Germany, for example, where I'm from, is a stagnant population on a national level, but my hometown of Munich is growing rapidly. So all the young people go to Munich and Berlin, largely in Germany. And so those areas are just doing fine because they get enough young lifeblood to keep those inner city areas nice and active. Other cities don't have that now. They have a lag. And that creates demographic dynamics. And when we look at global population data, we see that this trend will overall continue, because we'll see peak humanity in the 2060s. We will not grow bigger than we are in about 40 years' time. So if you are 40, you'll probably see peak humanity if you're 40 and under.